North Carolina.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Talk Real Life with Nada Manning. And I am your co host, Vernon Garrison. And I hope you guys are having a fantabulous morning or day so far. Thank you for watching on social media. Thank you for listening on your FM dial at 106.9 FM. Now, tonight, you will have an opportunity to participate in the show by calling in at 252-756-2008, or you can listen through your awesome radio app. If you go to Google Play, you download that app, you can actually listen to the show anywhere you're at through your device. And of course, Apple products has Alexa, if I'm not mistaken. Another way you can listen 24/7 is at www.wbis.org. You can listen there and be merry. In fact, you can listen there all over the world. All right. In case you were wondering where in the world I was looking for and looking at while I was speaking to you on social media, I want to make this announcement. There is Fish Fry Friday, free to all veterans, Friday, November the 11th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's this Friday, the 11th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And you can drive through. All veterans served in the military can drive through to receive a free fish meal. And we practice safe social distancing, so you just have to stay in your vehicle and we will accommodate you. Now, this will be held at the radio station here, 2531 South Memorial Drive, Greenville, North Carolina. 2531 South Memorial Drive, Greenville, North Carolina. So put that in your GPS. Fish Fry Friday, free to all veterans. Just so you know, we may be checking IDs or you're subject to show your ID as you come through. Thank you very much, veterans, for serving our country. And this is what we can do for you on Fish Fry Friday. Well, tonight, we're going to serve up quite a meal with Let's Talk Real Life with Miss Nada Manning. Whoo, boy, we are working on the subject of relationships. So without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, here is Miss Nada Manning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and I hope you all are doing well. It's a pleasure to be here as we finalize or just plain stop because it's never ending on relationships. But the whole point is we've been on it for several weeks, much, much longer than I thought we would. But different things kept coming up in conversation and different things were addressed, and it just kind of prolonged what I had anticipated. But it was all good. It was all good. And if you all have been following this series, we started out with the birth. We were talking about relationships, but we were starting out with the birth and were supposed to end at the death stage, the passing stage. But I don't want to get into that part at this time. I thought we would be uh, like 2 or 3 weeks ago going into this death phase, but at this time we are going to omit that part because we all know what happens during that time. So I won't address that. That's the slight change that I had in the series. However, we are now at the stage of full adults because if you recall and been following through, we started from baby age and then we went to elementary school and then we went to middle school age and then we went to high school age and then we went to college age and then we went to the young adult age after college and middle age, meaning 30, 40s on up, is where we are now. So I would call that the full adult age or stage of relationships. Certainly by now, like I said, if you all have been following, it's quite a process uh, from the time you're born until the time that you are of age as a senior. A lot of things take place in that lifespan, a whole lot of things. Some of us survive it and some of us don't. Some of us are kind of mediocre, just barely getting by from day to day because it's been such a strenuous stage of life. And that's why we're calling this show Let's Talk Real Life. And we've been talking about some real life issues with all stages of life. So now that we are coming to uh, the end of talking about relationships, I'm going to break it up into two parts. I'm going to address some things first as my analysis on the whole series piece, and then Coach Garrison is going to finish up with the marriage piece. I asked him earlier to talk about that because um, I want to hear him talk and say some things more. And since he's been so anxious to talk about this marriage piece, I said, okay, we're going to let him completely close out at the marriage piece. Now, as we all know, marriages can last for years and years and years on in on up to old age. So some of the things that can happen between 50, 60, 70s, and 80s, depending on how long the person's been married, can be addressed if that's what the route that he chooses to take. I'm going to let him do that. He's agreed to do that. Not let him, but I asked him if he would, and he agreed to do that. So at this time, I just want to do a little bit of recapping, and I will start out with a message that I received from a friend of mine today. It was a text message, and the message said, "A friend." We're talking about relationships. So we have friends, and then we have a relationship. Well, I think they go hand in hand. If you're a friend, that's a relationship. Might not be a very serious one, but it's some kind of a relationship. Anyway, the message said, a friend is someone we turn to when our spirits needs a lift. A friend is someone we treasure, for friendship is a gift. A friend is someone who fills our lives with beauty, joy, and grace. A friend makes the world we live in a better and happier place. So we want to, as we listen to this message, we want to reach out to whoever friend you may have out there and thank them for being your friend. Thank them for being your friend. Let them know that you appreciate them, that you care about them, and that you do have their best interests at heart. And hopefully they'll respond by saying likewise. That's what friends do. So my response to that was, when I read the text, I said, rainy days along with sunshine days. A friend holds the umbrella to keep the rain off and the sun off too, for shade. It has it does get hot in more ways than one, or heated in more ways than one. So we need that umbrella for the sun and the rain for some of us. And then I just said, amen, hallelujah, Jesus. Thank the Lord and glory. So that friendship is important. Friendship and relationship to me goes hand in hand. Maybe if one think about it long enough, or maybe relationship might be a little bit more serious than a friendship. I don't know. It's it's kind of a battle toss up, if you will. Um, but anyway, moving right along. We've talked about broken promises, right? We've talked about leaving the past behind us. We've talked about saying goodbyes to cares and concerns. We've talked about joy. We've talked about sadness. All of that's relationship. We've talked about a bunch of things. And it's been several weeks. I lost count. It's been at least 8 or 10 weeks of this. because we're now in November. So it's been a minute. And I say it was well worth it. And I hope that you all will say the same that are listening in. Because as long as we live, we're going to have some kind of relationship, some kind. Some itty bitty ones and some great big huge ones. Relationship is relationship. Why? Because as long as we live, there are going to be people. And there are people all around us, whether we want them to be around us or not. And eventually we're going to have to come out of the house, open the door, and step outside, and it's going to be somebody out there. Now, whether you choose to speak to them or not, wave at them, it's up to you. And if you don't, it's still a relationship. That means it's not a very good one, but it's something. Amen. We're talking real life, folks. Real life. I am your host, Nada Manning, on the Let's Talk Real Life show. And I do hope that you all are listening and taking notes or having some concerns, and continue to write me on the Facebook message page so that I can write you back as you address your concerns. But you can also call in and make the show more interesting by voicing, if you want to choose the voice, your opinion or your thoughts on anything. Just call in 252-756-2008. So, having read that friend message, which I thought was most timely for me anyway, and I hope it was for some of you who are listening, we want to talk about the positive end. I think we talked a lot about the negative side of relationships. I said, let's talk about some of the positive things that come from a relationship. Some of the positive things would be developing that relationship with someone. It could be and that can be any kind of relationship. It can be family, it could be church, it could be work, it could be school, it could be your neighborhood. Relationship is relationship, however way you want to categorize it, and how we make it through those relationships. How do we make it through? Because everybody is not going to agree with us. Everybody is not going to agree with us, and we know this. So we have to learn to do what? Learn to agree to disagree. Don't let everything get under our skin, because everybody's not going to like us. We can't get mad with everybody because everybody don't like us. That's okay. It can still be a relationship. It all depends on how you handle it. Are you going to let it keep you up at night? You going to pace the floor about it at night because so and such a person don't like you, or they said something that you didn't like, or. No, it is what it is. And I say that very strongly. Always, I say, most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, I'll say, you know what? It is what it is. Move on. And a lot of us have a hard time doing that, folks, in our relationships. We have a hard time letting go, leaving it alone. If they don't like you, they don't like you. Oh, well, they're not the only person in the world. There's some more folks out there, a whole bunch of folks. Go on across town. Go to another city, another town, another state. Find somebody. It's going to be somebody out there that will like you. So don't get bent all out shit because you can't make nobody like you. That's the bottom line with that. That's life. They didn't like Jesus Christ either. So what makes you think they're going to be liking you so much? What makes you so special? It's all in how you handle it. Amen.
Amen.
Comments, Coach?
Well, when it comes to people liking you, it's really, 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 really hard to tell with face value. I would say actions speak just as loud as words, and sometimes louder. It's hard to know a motive. And when you're talking about friends and friendship, I generally use the term circle as a person centered approach. I'm in the middle, and there are people around me, and some of them are closer than others. That seems to keep me in a headspace of what to say and how to act around people. That's the key, to know that you have a circle. Doesn't matter how many people are in that circle. There's a, it just matters that you are comfortable with taking, what should I'm pretty much, yeah, it's a risk of being who you are and exposing yourself at certain levels. And that's generally the inverted definition of friendship: close friend, associate, peer, someone that is, you got common relationship with, but they may be on the other side of the country. You may not know them, such as a Facebook friend. So there are certain levels of friendship that you're talking about, but whether they like you or not, you're going to have to look at none of what they say at times, almost zero of what you see, but patterns don't lie. So if that person is close to you and they verbalize commitment, then they will be there. They will sacrifice. They will give their time. They will stop what they're doing to be with you without you asking. So that's just one pivotal point there. We have needs. Are they there? Are they there to lean on? Or when we start to lean, do they show up? So actions will probably be your best temperature gauge for someone liking you or not. Everybody is not equipped, though, to go through your garbage with you. Everybody is not equipped to go through legitimate crisis with you. When you have issues with your marriage, there are not every other married couple will be there to counsel, to take care of you, to encourage you. They might be barely hanging on themselves. So you can't really judge in that respect by people's actions, because everybody may not have money to loan you when you have financial difficulties. So you just have to be led by the Spirit. You just have to have discernment when you're talking about friends and you're talking about their level of commitment to you and whether they like you or not. They can have a commitment and not like you. I have that with a couple of people. I got a commitment with them, but I just don't like a lot of their ways. And so it's a different thing, but I will say I treat people pretty much the same. But that's what I had to say about somebody liking you. Some people will go to war with you and they don't have a weapon or nothing to fight for you, but they will stand up. Okay, let me give you an example. I was working on a situation about a week ago. I was having a difficulty, what appeared to be with a couple. They were upset, fighting. Well, one of the students was driving by. He rolled up in his car. He looked at me. He's like, "You all right, Unc? You got it? You okay? You okay?" And he pointed at me like, if he had to get out of that car to take care of some things and go to battle with me, he was ready. I was just so proud of that moment because, he's not a huge guy in character and stature, but it was something about him that gave him confidence that he saw me having some issues with people. He was there to protect me if I needed him, and it meant so much.
And
I'm
it does.
6'3" and he might be 5'2". So whether
Yeah.
somebody likes you or not, you might have to wait on it, and you might have to watch the things you say around them, because everybody may not have the maturation level that you have, and other people have vices in their life too. So don't even think that you're so special that you can look at everybody as wrong. And all right, rant over.
Thank you, sir. Very good points. Um, you was moving along so fast. I did have a couple of questions. Now I forgot what
Mhm.
the questions were,
Oh, you're
but
talking about somebody
I think it
protecting
has
you.
something to do with actions and words and how one play into the other. I don't know what the question was now, but you made some valid points. And a lot of people, like you said, have a hard time balancing the two. It's sometimes, at least with me, I can say honestly, it's not what I say, it's how I say what I say. It's my tone that gets me in trouble many times. I mean well, but my tone needs some work. And I try very hard to try not to sound so authoritative. That's what I've been called. I have that authoritative voice, and I'm just can say that I'm working on it. But I'm saying all that to say that can affect a relationship. Not so much in what you say, but it's how you say it. Your intentions are right, but that other person that's listening to you, they don't know your intentions. All they know is they hear that voice, and that voice don't sound very comfortable to a
When
lot of
we
people.
when you're finding your voice, that's how I found my voice as a coach. And as a coach, you have position, and most of us are acclimated with that term coach. You can actually yell at people, you can raise your voice. All of that is permissible. You can say you're doing a sorry job out there. But what has happened in the coaching arena and even in the ministry, the pastor can stand up there, all of y'all sinning, and I don't want you to go to hell, so I'm gonna need you to. So even on that level, you have a voice that could be loud, boisterous, self-reflective, partially intimidating. So when you find your voice, you also have to find your position in people's lives. And when you build credibility, you'll know, such as a coach, you'll know you can yell, you can increase your volume
Mhm.
at a player, but you can yell at that person, but you don't yell within that person.
Right.
You don't damage their spirit.
Yeah.
So, and they know that. So, people
Yeah.
that hear your voice, that they are intimidated by your voice and your authoritative voice, that's fine if you're in the military. But if you're in a regular situation and people don't understand where your voice is coming from, that's when the wires get crossed and they don't know how to receive you.
And that's where I am. That's where I am. Years and years of being around those soldiers, we had to yell, and it, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And what I do, I try to correct myself when I hear myself. I'll correct myself and say, "Well, I didn't mean that the way it sounded. I'm working on my tone. I'm working, so don't take it to heart. That's why I try. That's how I try to clean it up, and it works most of the time. Most of the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah,
But
you do
anyway,
you do
that
you
was
do
just
preference
my
that.
personal experience and my personal self as applies to affecting relationships that I come in contact with. Meeting somebody brand new and that voice come out like that has turned off a lot of people. Also turned them away because they don't know how to deal with it. And before I know it, they're gone, stepped away, and I'm like, what? But
Because
after I
they
think
see that
about it
as a
more,
part of your character. They see
huh?
that as a part of who you are, and they haven't seen the other side. If there is another side, if that's the voice that you use all the time, then
No.
yeah, they feel like okay, if I'm gonna get that, then I'm gonna go to a buffet restaurant. I'm not going there today.
I can go get me some food someplace else.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I see what's going on there. They serving that meal. Okay, that's okay. I'm gonna head on down the street.
Anyway, getting back to the types of friendship relationships, we have intergenerational. That's definitely on the top of the list up there. It's way up there these days. That intergenerational. Oh, we've talked about that over the past several weeks when it comes to the millenniums and the who was the other group, the baby boomers, which is me.
Hmm.
Um,
Gen Z,
Gen Z is the newest ones.
Generation X, which
Okay.
is what I am, and there's Generation Y. I think that's the newest one.
Oh, well, all those generations. There's a big gap between the baby boomers, and I don't know what they were called before the baby boomers. That was down in the 30s and the 40s. That was my parents' age group.
Mm.
each generation have a different way of living. Let's put it that way. And the adjustment and how it affects the relationships has created some problems and how they can relate to us because they are quick to tell us the millenniums and the Generation X and all them. They have a problem relating to us from back in the day. And we can tell them about some things and they share our experiences and try to get them to understand where we were versus where they are today and try to connect the dots. And sometimes that dot just won't connect. Uh, so that affects the relationship because we're trying to get a message across to them and they just not getting it. Oh, we don't do that anymore, that type of thing. So it affects the intergenerational, the grandma stuff or the grandpa stuff. But we still here though, y'all young folks. So something must have worked for us back then. Try it. You might find out that it's not bad. So anyway, that kind of affects the relationship between that age group versus my age group or your age group, coach, because they just can't, they don't register. Now, as far as their experience and their knowledge of this new technology stuff, now, unless we older folks go to school for that stuff, we kind of miss out on that, but they pick it up just like that. And some of them haven't been to a school, but they know the stuff and try to get them to show us in that relationship how to work the phone, how to push the button. What does this mean? They go through it so quick. We slow folks, we old folks, we slow. We don't get it. You went through it. Wait a minute, slow down a little bit. Can you go back over that again? I didn't get it. What did you touch right there? Oh, mom. Oh, grandma. It was that. So that kind of affects the relationship because they are so speedy and we kind of slow. It affects the relationship. Intergenerational. The gap there is huge with that particular group. Then you have the purposeful relationship. Purposeful meaning what? You have this individual or this group or this leader or whomever they are that's really into trying to make things work out. Know that how you interact may change, but why you interact remains the same with those purposeful relationships. You're in a relationship for a purpose, and everybody have a purpose. The purpose might not be the most pleasant one, but it's a purpose. Most of us want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. We all want to make a difference and do something significant with our lives. But if that starts with, does that start with a relationship? If you want to do something blah, 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 purposefully, does that start with a relationship? I would say yes, because you can't do it by yourself. How are you going to do anything purposefully by yourself? It takes at least two. You got to have a partner. For example, with this show, Coach and I are working on this show together. Granted, I was doing it before he came along. I was doing it by myself for a few months, and it was going along well. I thought I started out pretty good for somebody that was totally green with doing a show live. And he came along a few months later to put some spice in this cake because the flavor was the, huh?
I said spice.
Yeah, some spice. Put some spice and some flavor. That's a new word for these young folks. Hey, see, Grandma thought of that one. Put some flavor on it. I'm learning. But anyway, so with that spice, that additional ingredients that has been put into the show, it has made it a little bit more interesting. Why? Not because he's my partner, but because he's a man. And I think men and women as partners, not that women and women don't do well or men and men don't do well, but I think for me, I do better with a man for more reasons than one. Even when I was working, I worked better with men as my commanders. Those women and I just did not get along. And that's a professional level. Now we're talking about relationship here, which that was a relationship too, that was on a professional level. But my point is how well it depends on the person. I know within myself I can get along with a man better than a woman. Don't ask me why that is. I don't know. But it is what it is. That's life. I've always gotten along with men better. So I'm glad that he stepped up. I asked him the other day, I said, well, where do you come from anyway? How did you manage? Because I didn't know this guy. Where do you come from? How did you find out? And he told me what had happened. I didn't have nothing to do with it. All I know is the next day I got a call and introduced, and oh, okay. But I was glad to see it because I had already prayed and asked the Lord to get me somebody to help me with the show. I thought I had someone, but anyway, going back to relationships, working as partners, it can develop a special relationship, especially when it's something that's in common with the individual. Now, it could have been someone that we were just totally clashing. We didn't know how this thing was going to work out. We did not know. I didn't anyway. I say we, but I'm saying me. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I knew what I wanted to do, but the relationship as partners working with this show has opened up a lot of windows, a lot of doors, a lot of experiences that we together can share with you listeners out there. Because his experiences are not my experiences and vice versa. That's what makes a relationship. When you get two people together, two or more people together, it's a purposeful relationship. What's the purpose? To reach out to help the community. And the community is the people all around the world because there's everybody everywhere that's got something going on that they need to hear somebody talk about. And that's what we're here to do through our experiences. Amen. My name is Nada Manning. We're talking live on Facebook. Let's Talk Real Life. I am your host, Nada Manning, and please call in at 252-756-2008. I want to cut my part of the conversation short because I did ask Coach to, and we are now at 12:31-ish, 32-ish, something like that. So I want to turn this last 20 minutes over. I guess that's enough time. You need less time or you need more time? If you're the guy that
I don't know.
If you're the guy that I think you are to develop, you're not gonna have enough time to finish what you got to say because you get to talking and going on and and it's all good. It's all good. Anyway, the last 2 points, and then when he finished, then it'll probably be towards the end of the show, and I'll do a prayer. And the next time we come on the air, we will be talking about a whole different subject. Now, that does not mean relationship won't come up again because it most likely will, because that's part of life. We are people and we're going to need one another at some point or another. And so that's where that relationship come in. Family relationships are the same thing. They are far, need some help. They need some work. We all have family issues and it is what it is. We just pray to God to help us through it, and that's that. So I am done. Well, I'm not done, but I'm going to stop.
All right. Marriage, a legally and socially sanctioned union, usually between a man and a woman, that is regulated by laws, rules, customs, beliefs, attitudes that prescribe the rights and duties of the partners and accord status to their offspring, if any. The universality of marriage within different societies and cultures is attributed to many basic social and personal functions for which it provides structure, such as sexual gratification and regulation, division or labor between the sexes, economic production and consumption, and satisfaction of personal needs for affection, status, and companionship. Perhaps its strongest function concerns procreation, the care of children and their education and their socialization, and regulation of lines of descent. Through the ages, marriages have taken a great number of forms. That is definition number one. Definition number two. As first described in Genesis and later affirmed by Jesus, marriage is a God ordained covenant relationship between a man and a woman. A lifelong sexually exclusive relationship resulting in children or that brings children in the world and thus sustains the stewardship of the earth. When it comes to getting married, ladies and gentlemen, I was married 30 years and divorced. I married my junior high school sweetheart. So I knew a lot about relationships. Well, I know a lot about the one that I had predominantly over my lifetime. But no, I'm not proclaiming perfection. I'm just wanting to share a couple of things as asked by Miss Manning. First of all, when it comes to marriage and that type of establishing that type of relationship, you want to know why you're getting married. You want to know what the purpose is, why you're getting married, why you're feeling those strong feelings of union that comes along with the other intimate areas that you are likely having for that person, the cravings, the interest that you have in that person to meet some of your emotional needs, and feeling like this person is going to be someone you designate to do that for you for the rest of your life. I was a dining experience the other night led a conversation between me and my waitress and the cook about marriage. And to be short, the young lady says, well, back in the day, you guys were afraid of God and you were convicted, and that led to you guys getting married just to be with each other and to have children. Thus, the end result was what you consider a family. So her premise for marriage was the Baptist minister coaching us, telling us we're going to go to hell if we don't get married. And we were marrying out of conviction. So I asked her, I said, well, what's the trade-off? What's the trade-off then? Because I'm about to speak with a young person, one of them X, Y, Z's. I said, oh, I'm in for it now. Here we're going to go. We're going to head on, probably go through same-sex marriage. I was prepared. I had my plate in front of me. But I asked her, though, I said, what's the trade-off from what you believe we did and the reasons we got married and reasons we established exclusive relationships? The fact that you are not getting married, the liberty that you have not to have children, or the liberty that you have not to be convicted on having premarital sex. Where's the trade-off, though? Where's the benefits? So I was a little bit like pushing. Then I relaxed when I realized I don't think she's going to be able to come up with anything. So the trade-off was not apparent in her conversation. The benefits of getting married is procreation, advancing the culture, and having some unity in the community and bearing children in a functional unit as much as possible. There's single parent homes and things of that nature, but that's the objective. And not only were we scared to go to hell, but we wanted a prosperous relationship that was exclusive. That Jerry, Jim, and John won't in your business, and Mary, Martha, and Missy won't in your bed. You have one woman, one man, as stated by the Bible and also as stated by the laws, most of the laws in the United States. Obviously, they're changing. So marriage, ladies and gentlemen, is first something you got to know why you're getting into it and what you want. Second of all, if there's a conviction in you to establish this type of relationship, then it's most likely of biblical proportions. Doesn't mean you're scared to go to hell. That means you want your marriage sanctioned by the creator of the universe. You want your marriage sanctioned by God. You want to follow some Christian principles. Some would say religious if you were talking to other people around the world. Christianity is not the only way that I believe that you approach God. But there are other religions that are takeoffs of what people believe. Christianity is a takeoff of the original gospel. Okay, but I won't get into theology because I'm not a theologist. But having that type of relationship, ladies and gentlemen, being married is functional. It was the most beautiful experience I have ever had in my life. to have that institution, to care for it, to be accountable for a woman and a child was the most supreme thing and most prestigious position I have ever been given in somebody's life. I do remember the days that my wife perceived me as her hero, her captain. I was everything. I remember being on that pedestal. It is a good one, but marriage is laden with other areas of relationships that are influenced by our culture, and you have to be ready to establish some things that will protect your marriage, that will protect that woman, that will protect that man. Because if you're going to set up a nest and bear children, you're going to need to protect your entity spiritually, physically, and mentally. Well, have you chosen the right person? How do you choose the right person? You have intuition from God, you have counsel from family, you have counsel from friends. I say it's a combination of all of that. And finally, you make a choice. And finally, you sleep on it a few nights. You get your counseling prior to marriage. And hopefully your counselor will share with you some of the most strenuous things about marriage. As a coach, I do premarital counseling. And I share with them some of the difficulties, but I offer them candid opportunities. I do about 3 to 4 sessions. And you can tell as a coach, I put it all out on the line. One of those sessions, just out of interest, if somebody's listening and they're about to fall asleep, I said, all right, well, is there anything that the other person needs to know about when it comes to your mental health or when it comes to your sexuality or when it comes to post-traumatic incidents that have happened in your life? You have to speak about those now. And then I get up and leave the room.
And allow them a chance to talk.
Yes, that is the opportunity. If there's been abortions, if there's been mental illness, if there's been physical ailments, especially with older people that are wedding, those are times to talk about, and they may not share it. And I'm not saying I don't say if you don't say it now, you come up with it 10 years from now. Now you've pretty much defiled and deceived your partner. No, that's not the purpose. Purpose is to open it up and let people share what they want to share. And if they feel the conviction to share, hey, I've been diagnosed with this. So all of this comes with a good foundation for having a marriage. And if you don't know why, if you get married just so you can try to control your sexual behavior, you get married for the wrong reasons, even though that could be one of the elements of it, because you want to designate yourself to one person. But just sex will not hold you together as a couple.
Right.
Finances will not just hold you. The person getting the bag. I came across a couple of students. I want a husband with the bag. I'm gonna get the bag, and the bag is, wealth, if you will, sort of a balance of wealth and knowledge. I said, well, if you get a husband with the bag and both of y'all got the bag, when are y'all gonna spend time together? And they just looked at me. I said, if he's that successful and the amount of money you want him to make, he's got businesses, he might be traveling all over the world.
Right.
You're exposing yourself to another level of attacks from outside of your marriage when it comes to other people. Right. So those are things you want to consider, what you think you want out of marriage and why you think you are getting married. Everything keep going back to why. But those that are married, let me switch over to them before a couple of moments. I just saw an app as I was looking at marital advice. I saw an app that will measure your happiness. And I remember in my marriage when my happiness started to disappear. Okay. And that's a happiness meter. Happiness meter can be when you see that person, your face don't light up like it used to light up when you saw that person. And so I failed a lot of those instant happiness marriage moments when my relationship got on the rocks. Happiness moments won't save your marriage, But they will be, if you ever start battling for that marriage, you will need to have developed enough relationship to like that person, because that will be all that you have to work with. I like that person. I respect that person. Some of the very same things that attracted you to them will be or two of the very same things that will help you save your marriage if it gets in trouble. If that person, not just looks, but characteristics, character. Me and my wife, no matter how bad things got, I didn't get into name calling. Okay. I didn't call her this. We didn't cuss each other out. It was always some type of boundaries around very, very heated arguments. I mean, the ultimate. But some of those character things, and I've never been that type of person. So what I'm saying is, when you meet this person, even as a young person, a young adult or a teenager, the character of that person may remain the same, even though they may go through trials. They may get on drugs. They might have a stroke. They might become a millionaire. They might become a billionaire. You might have a large house. You might have a small house. You might have the job you want, the career you want. But some of those characters can remain, and they will save you if you get in trouble. The ability to pray, the ability to humble yourself before God is directly related to me, the ability to humble yourself before your spouse and said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. So those things in the relationship are key. Yes, ma'am.
I think you said a couple of things just now about surrounding yourselves as a couple. I was thinking of just some of the misfortunes of a relationship going bad is, in my opinion, is the lack of Christ being centered. If you have Christ centered around your whole relationship between the two of you, then I think when those other things come, I call them the wiles of the devil, the whatever, the darts being thrown at you every which way. I'm thinking, and this is my thought, that maybe if you're having the God centeredness around you as a couple, that He will help you get those darts missed. You missed, you know what I mean?
Let me say right there, because I've been to conferences and things of that nature like that. How often, and I can't answer this question, how often I've seen a couple, and even in my relationship, where one person is more God centered than the other.
Yeah.
And one person seems to be more focused on God than the other person.
Yeah.
It switches.
Yeah.
It switches. And sometimes I haven't seen a lot. And it seems superficial when I did see it. When I see a couple that I think is on the same level spiritually, it seems like it's kind of fake. One of them seems kind of fake and one of them seems genuine. But most of the time, I'm going to go out on a limb. I just haven't seen it balanced, God-centered, with the two people at the same time. But I have seen perfect, what I see is on the outside, perfect harmony a few times in my life, where it's an older person that said, well, no, we've never gone to bed angry. We've never did this. We've never done that. So it does exist. So the God-centered part that you're talking about is great, because if you find that balance, but a lot of times is one person is very passionate about going to church. The other person may not be. Some people got real good religious behavior. Some don't. And then the other one. So I've seen it balanced, but most time I've seen it unequal.
And wouldn't you say, though, that if they started out, this was the prerequisite, if you will, before the marriage, to find out a little more about their spiritual growth as they get more and more acquainted before they commit themselves as one, that would help alleviate some of that missing part later on in their relationship as a couple. If they get this out of the way first, not totally out of the way, but get a good familiarity with their Christian walk, their Christ likeness, so that it can be understood, and that can
Yes.
help. You know what I mean? That can kind of help to show you what's ahead before you move forward with that matrimony.
And we got 11 seconds, 10 seconds remain. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a blast. We love you guys. She might come back next week and talk about relationships. We're out of here. WBIS LP 106.
Hi, my name is Lola Hunter, and I listen to Awesome Radio 106.9.
Fish Fry Friday, free to all veterans. Fish Fry Friday for veterans. The third annual Awesome Radio community service for veterans. Friday, November 11th, 11 o'clock a.m. to 1 o'clock.